So Toto, I'd like to start talking about the Harvard Business School, and I don't know if I should be calling you Professor Wolff now because you're going to be a guest lecturer there, and it sounds fantastic. So how did that come about? What does it mean to you, and what are you bringing to it?
I think probably professor is a bit of a long shot, but I like the work there, working with Anita, the professor. She's a real professor. And it's not one directional. It's not that I'm trying to teach or lecture, but it's also being challenged by the students, and it's a creative environment, so real add-on to my life.
We know F1 gives so much to different parts of society sometimes. Also the engineering side can be applied to so much. So from a business sense, what does it bring? What can you teach people from the world of F1?
I think we're in a high-pressure environment. We race 23 times a year. You're only as good as your last session or your last race, and you see the similarities with public companies. They need to report 4 times a year, but then it's difficult to stick to your long-term strategy, deploy your business plan. And I think it's the same balance we need to strike here between getting every single race right, but then also planning long-term ahead.
And you're known, if you type your name into Google and what are Toto Wolff's rules of business, it comes up with no blame culture and things like that. But there is a balance, isn't there? It's not just as simple as mistakes happen and you just brush it under the carpet. There needs to be some accountability. So in the world of F1, how do you find that balance between the no blame culture, which you're kind of famous for, and getting things done?
I think it's a human reaction that when a mistake is being done, you point at someone and say, that's your fault. And it's a pressure release valve, because if you can identify the culprit, you feel better about it. But the truth is, if something goes wrong, I'm at fault because I'm the head of the organization, because either I've chosen the wrong person or I've not educated that person in a way or developed the skill. If a mechanic fails in a pit stop, it's rarely the person who is negligent. It's the pit stop equipment that is not fit for purpose, or the wheel gun is not functioning in the right way. So only by creating a safe environment you will get the best out of the people, because they are able to say, I've done that wrong, or we should change that. And people normally don't dare to speak up. So over time, I think we have been successful in creating that safety and no blame culture.
If we look at F1 at the moment, this weekend especially, there seems to have been an element of negativity after the Baku race. It wasn't the most exciting, if we can be honest about that. But this happens a lot in F1. You know, we had years where Mercedes was dominant before that. We had Ferrari before that, Red Bull. Can you explain to people why the sport is like that, but also why, that's part of the appeal as well?
Formula One is about meritocracy. It's an engineering competition as much as it's a driver competition, and therefore, if you have a change of regulations, someone might get it interpreted in a much better way than the others, and then you can see such a gap. And we've been able to maintain that over 8 years. We won 8 consecutive Constructor World Championships through some regulatory change, but this was a massive one, and we got it wrong, and somebody else got it right.
And then, well, you say you got it wrong, but obviously you're building back to getting it right. What are we looking at here? There's been a lot of talk about the Imola upgrade, which comes the weekend after, but it's not as simple as that, is it? It's not just you bolt on a new part and it goes faster. There's understanding to be found. There's all sorts of things, and it's a path, isn't it, towards progress?
Yeah, absolutely. The famous Imola upgrade, we're bringing new bits to the car that we believe will increase overall performance, but we need to also manage our own expectations, because it's going to be a new solid baseline. We are taking a few question marks out of the equation, such as our front suspension. Normally there's not a lot in a front suspension, but we believe that it's causing some instability in the car. So from there on, we just have to fight our way back.
And then you look at Aston Martin, the job they've done this year, compared to where they were last year. We now have a big 4 teams rather than a big 3. What does that say about the F1 in total and how fluid it can be?
What it says is just that you can really recover quickly if you do solid work, good engineering, utilize your tools well. Aston Martin came from P7 to P2 now. So that's good, that's refreshing also that we have a new player, and it's an encouragement for everybody else, the teams that are further down the grid.
Now, we talked last weekend in Baku and you reassured me that Lewis is staying, so we won't go directly into the contract talks, but he also said after the race in Baku, he had a good race, came back through the field, and he said, I'm not thinking about 1 year, I'm thinking about multiple years. So, everyone wants to know, how much longer have we got Lewis? Because we want to make the most of him, right, sir?
I think he made a good remark today about LeBron James and Fernando Alonso, Tom Brady. They have gone beyond their 40s, really successful, and We're speaking about two athletes, probably the best in the world. They play on a pitch or on a court. So it's the body that needs to function beyond the cognitive ability. And in our case, it's mainly the brain and the cognitive functions. Therefore, I think he can push the boundaries in a way that Fernando has done it too.
And the team has been able to keep him motivated through this period. In fact, sometimes it feels like he's more motivated now than he was at other points when the wins were coming more easily.
Yeah, I think obviously we all need to be motivated and excited about what we do. And I think he is. Now it's our job to provide him and George a faster car so they can fight for a world championship. And I think then we will see the Lewis that was so strong at the end of 2021 and who is basically unbeatable.
And just talking about George as well, there was a lot made about his contact with Max. You said that Max will probably forget it, move on from it. But did you hear Christian said he's a bit like an elephant, he never forgets. So is this the start of a new burgeoning rivalry between the two?
They know each other since they've been kids. Probably they had the same kind of conversation another 10 times in go-karting. So we are interpreting much too much into this. You have a row, you forget about it.
Well, thank you very much for your time, Toto, and well, good luck this weekend.
Thank you, Laurence.